Marc Cucurella played the full 90 minutes as Spain came close to defeat to the Netherlands in the UEFA Nations League quarter-finals. The match was a dramatic affair, with Spain having to wait until injury time to salvage a 2-2 draw. Nico Williams had given Spain an early lead after capitalizing on a mistake by Jorel Hato. However, the Dutch responded quickly through Cody Gakpo before the break, before Tijani Reijnders put the Orange ahead just 39 seconds into the second half. With Spain's 16-game unbeaten run looking to end, drama struck in the 81st minute. Hato was sent off, giving Spain a man advantage. Mikel Merino came to the rescue with a last-gasp goal from a Bart Verbruggen rebound. The second leg takes place in Valencia next Sunday, with the winners set to face either Croatia or France in the semi-finals. Pedro Neto and Renato Veiga also featured for Portugal, but had less than enjoyable evenings. Neto came close to scoring against Denmark, but his effort was denied by Kasper Schmeichel. Meanwhile, Veiga had put Portugal in danger after giving a penalty, although Christian Eriksen ultimately failed to execute it. Unfortunately, Portugal still lost 0-1 after Rasmus Højlund scored the winning goal for Denmark. They now have to fight hard to turn things around in the second leg, which will take place in Lisbon. Chelsea face a big decision regarding Jadon Sancho's fate. The winger, who was brought in on loan from Manchester United last summer, was expected to rediscover his best form. However, so far, the reality has been different. In 28 matches in all competitions, Sancho has only managed 2 goals and 6 assists. These figures are far from expectations, both from the club and the fans. In fact, the player himself admitted that his performance this season was disappointing. The problem is, Chelsea have a £25 million mandatory purchase clause if they finish above 14th in the Premier League. With their position still competing at the top, the clause will almost certainly be active. However, recent reports have suggested that Chelsea have the option to cancel the obligation. This option is not without consequences. If Chelsea choose not to make Sancho permanent, they will have to pay a large amount of compensation to Manchester United. The amount was not stated exactly, but it was said to be a large part of the agreed transfer fee. Amid the uncertainty over Sancho, Chelsea have actually prepared a big step for their attack line. Chelsea have secured 4 talented young talents: Estevao Willian, Giovanni Quenda, Kendry Páez and Dario Essugo. These 4 players are believed to have a bright future and can be an important part of the club's long-term project. With their presence, Sancho's chances of staying are getting smaller. If his performance does not improve, it is not impossible that Chelsea will take the decision to release him sooner. If Chelsea decides to back out of the deal, Manchester United will have a new problem. Previously, Sancho had a tense relationship with Erik ten Hag before finally being loaned. Now, with the presence of Ruben Amorim as the new manager, there is no certainty whether he is willing to give Sancho a second chance. United have 3 options. 1. Keep Sancho if Amorim wants to try to get him back to his best form. 2. Find another club that is willing to borrow him to reduce the salary burden. 3. Sell him permanently, even though his disappointing performance could drastically reduce his market value. There is also another option being considered, extending Sancho's contract until 2027. This would give United more time to find potential buyers and avoid losing the player for free. Chelsea now face a difficult choice. Keeping Sancho would give him a chance to prove himself, but the risk is high. If his form does not improve, Chelsea will have wasted £25 million on a player who is not making a maximum contribution. This decision is not just about money, but also about the direction of the club going forward. Whatever Chelsea decide, this transfer saga has the potential to be one of the biggest dramas of the summer transfer window. Chelsea have been hit with more bad news after Cole Palmer was confirmed to be absent from the opening 2026 World Cup qualifiers with the England national team. The muscle injury he suffered prevented him from joining Thomas Tuchel's squad, and he had to undergo recovery at the club. Palmer was initially included in the list of players called up by Tuchel to face Albania and Latvia. However, until now, he has not trained again with the Chelsea team, which made Tuchel finally decide not to force his presence. Tuchel said in an interview ahead of the match against Albania, "He won't be with us. He hasn't trained with Chelsea. We've been waiting for a long time to see how he's progressing and hoping to call him up, but he hasn't been back on the pitch, so it doesn't make sense for us to call him up now. We'll work with the squad that we have." Palmer's absence is a big loss for England, given his increasingly vital role in the national team. The 22-year-old was the hero in the Euro 2024 final with his goal, and has since been expected to be one of the mainstays in England's attack. However, his form at Chelsea this season has often been hampered by fitness issues. Although he remains a key player under Enzo Maresca, the muscle injury he suffered has kept him out of several important matches. Chelsea themselves have not given official information about the severity of the injury and how long Palmer will be out. On the other hand, Tuchel must rack his brains to find alternatives in his game plan, especially facing two important matches at the start of World Cup qualifying. England will face Albania on Friday and Latvia on Monday, two matches that should be used to secure a perfect start under the new coach. For Chelsea, losing Palmer in this condition is certainly bad news. The West London club is still struggling in the Premier League and wants to secure a Champions League ticket next season. Palmer, who has so far scored many goals and assists for Chelsea, is one of the key elements in Maresca's game plan. For now, Chelsea and England can only hope that Palmer can recover quickly and return to his best form. However, with a busy schedule ahead, the decision not to force his fitness could be a wise move to avoid a more serious injury. Chelsea are still dealing with the ongoing injury problems that plague the team. With the international break coming at a good time, there is hope that some players can recover in time. Here are the latest updates on Noni Madueke, Omari Kellyman, and David Datro Fofana. 1. Madueke, ready to return after international break. Good news for Noni Madueke. The young winger is close to recovering from a hamstring injury and is expected to return after the international break. Maresca confirmed he will probably be back after the international break, as will Noni Madueke. Before the break, we still have 2 games. Then we will use that time to recover the players and prepare for the final sprint of the season. This is certainly a big boost for Chelsea, who need more options in attack as the season draws to a close. 2. Omari Kellyman. Season ends early. For Omari Kellyman, the season is officially over. Chelsea's summer signing has yet to feature this season, and has now confirmed he will be out for an extended period of time after suffering a recurrence of his hamstring injury. In a statement on social media, Kellyman wrote, "Very disappointed to announce that my season has come to an early end due to a recurrence of my hamstring injury. 24/25 was a very tough season for me mentally and physically, but the most important thing now is to focus on getting back to full fitness. Chelsea are unlikely to be able to rely on Kellyman at all this season, which is a blow for the youngster who is looking to prove himself at the highest level." 3. David Datro Fofana. The situation is still a mystery. Unlike the previous 2 players, David Datro Fofana's condition is still a mystery. Reports regarding his injury are mixed, as is the estimated time frame for his recovery. There is currently no certainty as to when the young striker will be back on the pitch. Chelsea will be hoping to get some clarity on Fofana's condition soon, especially with the increasingly congested schedule and the need for better squad depth. With injuries mounting, Chelsea will need to be careful in managing their squad ahead of the end of the season. Madueke would be a vital addition after the international break, while Kellyman's absence further reduces their attacking options. Meanwhile, Fofana's fate remains up in the air, and Chelsea will need to wait and see. Can the Blues weather the injury storm and finish the season strongly? It all depends on how Maresca rotates his players in the coming weeks. Chelsea seems to have found a figure who has the potential to be Claude Makelele's successor. In Dario Essugo, the 20-year-old defensive midfielder was recently recruited from Sporting CP and is projected to fill a vital role in the Blues midfield. The arrival of Enzo Maresca as Chelsea coach brings new hope to the team. However, one thing that is still a concern is the lack of defenders in the midfield who can really act as attack breakers for the opponent. And this is what makes Essugo's name attract attention. Since Makelele's departure, Chelsea have had several quality defensive midfielders, but none have been able to really fill the role of sweeper in front of the back line. Moises Caicedo is expected to be able to carry out this task this season, but his statistics have not shown the expected dominance. Meanwhile, Essugo performed extraordinarily when he was loaned to Las Palmas this season. In his 17 appearances in La Liga, he has always been a starter and shown solid defensive qualities. In fact, talent scout Jacek Kulig called him a one-man army in midfield due to his ability to win duels and stop opponents' attacks. If you look at the statistics this season, Essugo has actually surpassed Caicedo in several key aspects. These numbers show that Essugo has better defensive abilities in terms of winning duels, winning the ball, and blocking the opponent's threat. This is a positive sign that he could develop into a more solid defensive midfielder than Caicedo in the future. Of course, Essugo cannot be compared directly to a legend like Makelele. He is still young and needs more experience in a competition like the Premier League. In addition, his discipline is still an issue. He has received 2 red cards in 2025. However, if he can adapt quickly and hone his tactical skills, it is not impossible for Maresca to transform Essugo into an elite defensive midfielder. With his experience in La Liga and the speed of his development, Chelsea may have found a long-term solution for their midfield. Dario Essugo has all the attributes needed to become a world-class defensive midfielder. He is physically strong, has a keen sense of defense, and his stats are promising. However, the real challenge is how he can transform his potential in the much faster and more demanding Premier League. If Maresca can find the right way to develop Essugo, Chelsea may finally have a man who can revive the legendary Makelele role in their midfield.